LinkedIn presents.
The truth is, networking does work, you're just doing it wrong, especially if you're an introvert, because the introvert's path to success doesn't look like that of an extrovert, and in truth, even an extrovert doing that is going to have pretty average results. They may look like they're doing it better than you because they're better at winging things, but they're not creating deep connections either. I suggest that all introverts need to embrace the power of strategic networking.
Good morning. I'm Michael Kovnat, and this is the Next Big Idea Daily. Quick masterclasses from the best new books written and read for you by the authors themselves. Today, let's talk about a word and an activity that many of us dread: networking. Now, if you're an introvert, you probably don't need to be told that traditional networking advice, stuff like just be outgoing or work the room, well, that wasn't written with you in mind. But Matthew Pollard has a better way. In his book, The Introverts' Edge to Networking, Work the Room, Leverage Social Media, Develop Powerful Connections, Matthew shares a framework for building authentic, strategic relationships without pretending to be someone you're not. He's a successful entrepreneur known as the Rapid Growth Guy, and he's helped businesses from startups to Fortune 500s unlock their hidden potential. Today, he's here to show us why introverts actually have the edge when it comes to making meaningful connections, if they know how to use it. Matthew will join us to share his big ideas right after this quick break.
From LinkedIn News, I'm Leah Smart, host of Everyday Better, an award-winning podcast dedicated to personal development. Join me every week for captivating stories and research to find more fulfillment in your work and personal life. Listen to Everyday Better on the LinkedIn Podcast Network, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
From LinkedIn News, I'm Jessie Hempel, host of the Hello Monday podcast. Start your week with the Hello Monday podcast. We'll navigate career pivots. We'll learn where happiness fits in. Listen to Hello Monday with me, Jessie Hempel, on the LinkedIn Podcast Network or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, my name's Matthew Pollard, and I'm the author of the Introverts' Edge book series. Insight number 1. Stop trying to behave like the extroverts. Not only is that a path to exhaustion, because you're never going to be able to keep that up, it's also going to make you feel totally inauthentic and totally uncomfortable, which is going to leave you not being able to sleep the night after a networking event because you're going to want to play back all of those things that happened and all the things you should have said or should have said differently. That is not the path for you. The truth is, winging things in the networking room is not the path for you either. Now let's look at how we got in this mess. When we think about networking or the people that are in a networking room, generally I find that it's pretty easy to class them into two categories. You've got your transactional networkers, which are the kind of people in networking rooms walking around going, do you want to buy from me? No, what about you? What about you? What about you? I mean, that's the last thing as an introvert we want to be doing. I mean, it would just feel horrible for us to do that. The truth is, even a lot of extroverts don't like doing that. The problem is that leads to what I call aimless networking, which is where we kind of go to networking rooms and we try to have very shallow conversations because we don't want to feel like we're selling anyone on anything. Which means when somebody asks us what we do, we might even say, oh, well, my day job is this. Which, I mean, that's not really going to put the best light on what we do, but we just feel uncomfortable trying to promote ourselves. What this then leads to is lots of really shallow conversations where we may offer each other a little bit of advice, we may have a little bit of a good time with each other, and then we'll swap business cards. But the truth is, we don't really have a great connection with these people. So we kind of walk out with a bunch of business cards that we might want to call shallow friendships, if you like. But the truth is, a lot of times as introverts, we don't even have time to catch up with the friends that we do have. And catching up with our friends a lot of times can take a lot of energy from us. So why would we want to catch up with these new connections? What that results in is us telling ourselves, let's put these business cards on the desk. And you know what? If they call us, then of course we'd love to work with them. Of course, they never actually do. Which is why so many people believe that networking doesn't work. The truth is, networking does work, you're just doing it wrong, especially if you're an introvert, because the introvert's path to success doesn't look like that of an extrovert, and in truth, even an extrovert doing that is going to have pretty average results. They may look like they're doing it better than you because they're better at winging things, but they're not creating deep connections either. I suggest that all introverts need to embrace the power of strategic networking. Now, I will warn you up front, strategic networking takes time. You've got to go in with a plan. You've got to prepare. You've got to practice. The great thing about this, though, is it's methodical. It's something that introverts can do before they get in the room. Now, this does not mean that when you go into the room, you behave like somebody else. The goal is that you prepare what you're going to talk about, you prepare who you're going to talk to, so that when you get into a room, you present the best version of yourself, the authentic version of yourself, but in a way that makes you feel totally comfortable. All introverts need to embrace the power of strategic networking. Stop introducing yourself by your functional skill. If you're sick of hustling to find interested prospects, trying to set yourself apart, and constantly feeling like you're trying to close a deal where somebody only cares about one thing, price, or you're a person trying to get one of those high-level jobs where you can finally get paid what you deserve, then you have to stop introducing yourself by your functional skill. A great example of that would be Wendy. She was a language coach teaching kids and adults Mandarin, and she was competing against other people starting their own Mandarin education businesses for cheaper in the same state. She had foreign competition offering to do it for much cheaper on Craigslist directly from China, and to make things worse, there was now technology where you could teach somebody Mandarin and they'd teach you English and it'd be totally free. She comes to me and she says, how do I compete in this crowded market? And I said, what we need to do is avoid the battle altogether. I noticed after reviewing hundreds of her clients that were two people specifically that she worked with that she helped with far more than just language tuition. She helped them understand the difference of rapport in China versus the Western world. Like here, to sell something to somebody, we might spend 45 minutes with them before asking for the deal. If we have to reach out to them for another meeting and then they still say they want to think about it, we know our chances of getting that sale are going down and down. Yet in China, they want to meet with you maybe 4 or 5 times before they discuss business, because they're talking about longer deals and they make decisions more based on relationship. And she helped them understand that. On top of that, she helped them understand the difference between e-commerce in China and the Western world and the importance of respect, why learning the language isn't enough, why you have to reduce your accent, how to handle a business card, and why it mattered so much. I said, Wendy, you're doing so much more for these people than just language tuition. What are you doing? And she's like, they're just a few things. I'm just trying to help. And I said, you're stuck in your functional skill. Is it fair to assume as a result of the assistance that you're giving these people, they're going to be more successful when they get to China? She's like, well, yeah, that's the point, right? I said, great, let's call you the China Success Coach then. And let's create what we ended up calling a China Success Intensive. Now, she loved the idea of this, but she's like, well, who do I sell it to? And I said, well, who do you think your ideal client is? She said, obviously, it's the executive. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. I moved from Australia to the US and I was terrified, but it's not your ideal client. She's like, well, obviously the company would pay. And I said, I understand that too. A lot of companies have millions of dollars riding on the executive being successful. I said, I still don't think it's your ideal client. Frustrated, she's like, well, who then? And I said, I believe your ideal client is the immigration attorney. So all of a sudden, she started to go to only networking events where immigration attorneys hung out. She'd introduce herself not by her functional skill, but as the China Success Coach, and people leaned forward. It wasn't long before she had multiple joint venture relationships with immigration attorneys that for a $3,000 commission for any successful introduction, they would introduce her to the China Success Coach. Wendy, after that commission check, made $27,000 for the easiest sale in the world, all by A, going to the right events, but B, not introducing herself by her functional skill, but instead introducing herself as the China Success Coach. You have to lead with passion and mission, not functional explanation and jargon. So often I see people introduce themselves by their functional skill as an accountant or as an attorney, and then when people ask more questions, all they do is provide a functional explanation. Now, hopefully, you're open to the idea of calling yourself by what I call a unified message, your version of the China Success Coach, or in my case, the Rapid Growth Guy. See, when people ask me what the Rapid Growth Guy is, I respond with a passion statement, not something to do with the fact that I teach people sales and marketing. For instance, if somebody asked me what the Rapid Growth Guy is, and I said, well, basically what I do is I teach predominantly introverts how to market and sell themselves more effectively, I'm going to get straight back into that functional dialogue about, oh, they've tried sales before and it didn't work, or, oh, I need a marketing coach, can you help me? I'll immediately commoditize myself, and they'll put me back in that bucket that I'll never be able to get out of, and I'm going to be straight back to fighting on price. See, when I introduce myself as the Rapid Growth Guy and somebody asks me what that is, they lean forward and I will then say, one of the things that I love to see more than anything is an amazing individual with enough talent, skill, and belief in themselves to start their own business. However, what I hate to see is that same individual get stuck in a hamster wheel of struggling to find interested prospects, trying to set themselves apart and make the sale, all while feeling like their prospects only care about one thing, price. And then I'll ask them if they know anyone like that. When they respond with, well, yes, I do, and of course they do, because hopefully I've gone to the right networking event, I will then respond with, well, I'm on a mission to help these individuals, specifically introverted service providers, realize that they really can have a rapid growth business doing what they love in a business that revolves around them, their family and their life, not the other way around, but it's not going to be by focusing on their functional skill and getting better at that. I mean, they're usually already amazing at that. Instead, what they need to do is focus on 3 things outside the scope of their functional skill, and they really can obtain that rapid growth they're looking for. Notice what I haven't done is talked about the industry jargon that makes me feel like I'm selling. It almost comes across as, hey, I'd love to get you as a new client because I'm trying to buy a new car. Instead, I haven't even really talked about what it is that I do, just shared my passion and mission for helping the demographic I mean to serve and the problems that they have. And then I'll move into saying, actually, you know what? Let me give you an example, which I'll then tell a story, which forms the basis of insight number 4. Do not focus on jargon, just tell a story. So often when we're in networking events and we finally get someone that's interested in what we do, which will happen much more often when you use a unified message that doesn't commoditize you by your functional skill and share your passion and mission, we tend to, especially as introverts, go deep very, very quickly. And what we start to do is offer advice or information or options. And to the person that we're speaking to, a lot of times it feels like we've opened up this fire hose of information and it's just overwhelming for them, which is why often we hear things like, oh, thanks for that great advice, I'll apply that, and then I'll definitely hire you. Of course, they never do because they don't remember half of what you told them when they go back home or back to the office. What I always recommend that you do is tell a story instead. Now, when I say tell a story, so many people think they tell great stories, but they don't. They always tell stories like, customer wanted this, so we gave it to them. What I'm talking about is a story more like the story of how you met your life partner. You know, at the start, perhaps it was a little bit bulky and you realized as you told it that there were certain elements that people didn't really warm to, so you took them out, and things that other people loved, so you embellished, and over time it becomes a little bit of a theatrical masterpiece. Now, those are the types of stories that you want to tell, because truthfully, you should only need 1 or 2 stories. When you know your niche and you go to events where your niche is at, then every time you go, the people will have the same problems, and therefore you can talk about your passion and mission and lead straight into the same story over and over again. You'll become amazing at telling it, and that is what allows us introverts to practice the story, prepare it, not so that we sound scripted. Remember, your favorite actors on TV shows and movies are reading from scripts too, but they've taken the time to embody that, to learn it, and truly perform it in the right way. And they're pretending to be someone else. You're just being the best version of yourself, a well-practiced version of yourself. Now, when you tell stories, some amazing things happen. Firstly, it activates the reticular activating system of our brain, which actually causes our brains to synchronize. It creates artificial rapport that as introverts, once we can turn into deeper connection. People also remember up to 22 times more information when embedded into a story. And most importantly, it short circuits the logical part of the brain. That's the part of the brain that says, that won't work for me. I'm not sure about that. I don't have time for this. When we tell stories, we literally short circuit the logical part of the listener's brain, and their brain literally goes story time, and it just listens. And if the moral of the story, which is all they listen to, they assume all the detail in the story is factual. If the moral of the story is we worked with a customer just like you and we got them to an amazing result, the moral for them will be that you can do the same for them and they will want to work with you. They'll want to hire you. It is such a superpower. Don't focus on jargon. Tell a story and you'll be amazed with the results.
Thank you, Matthew. Okay, everyone, you can get a copy of The Introverts Edge to Networking wherever you get your books. If you could use some more life and career advice, go to nextbigideaclub.com to check out our hardback subscription club. We'll send you the best new nonfiction books as chosen by our curators, Adam Grant, Malcolm Gladwell, Dan Pink, and Susan Kane. That's nextbigideaclub.com. I'm Michael Kovnat. Hope to see you tomorrow.